Video game companies and the people that run them are always looking for a way to make a quick buck, and while they do get a lot of money out of gamers, unfortunately they are always looking to push the limits and find ways to get us to open our wallets, and now the GTA 6 publisher thinks that gamers should pay more for longer games. I have a few different things to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, follow me on social media, and consider supporting through Patreon or via YouTube memberships. Now, obviously, a lot of people are excited for GTA 6. We got the announcement from Rockstar last week that sometime in December we were going to be getting the first official trailer, probably at the Game Awards, but unfortunately, now the Take-Two Interactive CEO has decided to come out and make an extremely controversial statement. It says when it comes to video games, the length of an experience can vary from anywhere between 10 hours of content to a few hundred. Open world games such as Baldur's Gate 3 offer up hours upon hours of replayability, while others more streamlined experiences opt for a concise approach instead. Now, I personally love a long game, but I think that games should be probably at least 20 hours. When you are paying $70 and you're only getting like a 10 or a 12-hour experience with minimal replayability, it really puts a bad taste in your mouth. I mean, look at all of the Resident Evil remakes. While I love Resident Evil, it's one of my favorite franchises of all time, and I have played all of the remakes and have live streamed them. Unfortunately, if you look at something like the Resident Evil 3 remake, which was really only 8 hours, that is not acceptable. And then Resident Evil 4, while they did improve upon a lot and it did look very pretty, unfortunately, it's still $70 for like a 13 to 15 maximum hour experience, and it just doesn't end up being worth it. I don't think, though, that, a lot of people have the time or the patience for a game that's 100 hours. I think giving players the options to, have a game that where you could play it 100 hours if you wanted, or you could just do like a 20, 25, hour average playthrough. I think that is very acceptable. But now this CEO is saying, well, longer games should mean a higher price tag, right? As a result, the topic of games being sold at full price despite these variations in length has been a hot topic of conversation in recent years throughout the industry. Chiming in, the Take-Two Interactive CEO Strauss Zelnick has added his thoughts to the mix, arguing that games should be priced on a per hour basis, which is just so absurd. First of all, I do not think that a CEO should be publicly coming out and saying things like this, because it really lowers that consumer confidence. Because now, looking at something like Grand Theft Auto 6, I'm even more worried about potential microtransactions and whatever they want to throw in their ways to nickel and dime us, right? Because if he's saying, well, games should be more expensive if they're longer, definitely raises a lot of red flags. He said in terms of pricing for any entertainment property, basically the algorithm is the value of the expected entertainment usage, which is to say that the per hour value times the numbers of expected hours plus the terminal value that's perceived by the customer in ownership if the title is actually owned, not say rented or subscribed to. The problem with this is that we don't actually own our games, and he's claiming you own your game. Gamers own them. No, we don't. We are basically licensing them from the companies. They could ban our accounts and we would lose access to games, which is another issue entirely. But it says, and you'll see that bears out in every kind of entertainment vehicle. By that standard, our frontline prices are still very, very low because we offer many hours of engagement. The CEO then added, that doesn't necessarily mean that the industry has pricing power or wants to have pricing power. However, there is a great deal of value offered. He is acting like he is providing us a necessity, right? Like, oh my God, we're such good people providing you with the content that you need. While I love video games, Again, when I hear CEOs talking about potentially, raising prices of games, it raises a lot of red flags. While the formula of such a one as he is proposing does not exist at this current time, there is no telling if games will be priced in relation to their usage in the future. I mean, if you look at something like MMOs, right, they already have that premium subscription model where you're paying, $15 a month, so they are getting a lot more out of you than, $70. But at the same time, you are expected to be getting, tons of content, right? Like if I subscribe to Final Fantasy right now, Final Fantasy 14, I would be getting hundreds of hours of content. While I can't get through all of that in 1 month for the $14.99 price tag, I'm still getting a significant amount of content that I can access. It says, though, this could perhaps mean that when GTA 6 eventually hits store shelves, we'll see it arrive with a high price tag given how ambitious the experience is expected to be. And this is the worry, is that by the time GTA 6 comes out, they are going to skyrocket the price tag. There have been a lot of rumors that GTA 6 is going to have like $125 price tag for the base model, and I think that after we've heard this, it definitely gives a bit more credence to that rumor. I do not think that it would be that high, but it would not surprise me if, the base version of GTA 6 at launch is like $90 or $99.99, and then you end up having to swipe your credit card for that much money. And while I'm sure that you are going to get a lot of value out of GTA 6 because they've said it's so much larger and so much more ambitious than all of the other Grand Theft Auto games, it's still a hefty chunk of change at launch. I mean, there are estimates that this game is going to make over $1 billion just within its first week of launch. So, maybe they're looking at those estimates going, let's get even more. If that's what we can make off the base version, while yes, if we rose the price up quite a bit, we'd lose some customers, the numbers would be made up by the people who are buying it and who are supporting it, because they know people are desperate for GTA 6. People have been waiting years for this title and are so excited. But this honestly reminds me of the Capcom president and what he said back in September. Capcom's president claims that video games should be more expensive, and he didn't come up with this like elaborate plan of like, oh, we should judge the amount of hours of content you're getting and then come up with a number based on that. He's not talking about that. He's just saying that like a $70 video game should be the way of the past. We should have like $80 or $90 games. He said, personally, I feel the game prices are too low. Development costs are around 100 times higher than they were in the days of the Famicom, but the price of software hasn't risen so much. His commentary didn't end with the prices either. Capcom's head honcho also believes wages need to increase, especially if the industry wants to continue attracting talented developers. I mean, there are titles that have $50 to $100 million budgets. I mean, you are not telling me you do not have enough money in order to, pay people fairly. I mean, yes, video games do cost a lot to make, but the industry has grown so much over the past few years. You are making so much more money than you were even, just a couple years ago, even just 5 years ago. It's estimated that in 2023, the video game industry's revenue will be $300 billion, which is just such a crazy amount of money. But yet we still have the Capcom president sitting here whining that video games aren't expensive enough when he's walking away with millions of dollars every single year. I mean, the same goes for the TakeTwo Interactive. He is making $40 million a year. In 2022, he made $42.1 million. So he's just looking for a way to line his pockets even more. He is looking for a way to make more money because because if the company makes more money, he makes more money, and that's all that these people really care about at the end of the day, because they are companies, and I can't necessarily blame them for wanting to make money, but at a certain point you come off as extremely greedy, and that is what has happened here. There's a lot to be worried about when it comes to GTA 6. I hope it releases. I hope it's amazing. I hope that it is not filled to the brim with microtransactions. I hope it's not $125 at launch, but only time will tell. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this and of course found it important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.